Okay, the intent of these programs is we want to take a look at somebody that has historically done this, somebody that's currently doing it, and somebody that's going to do it all the way up to the PEO, right? And so John Freudenthal is here from the ITEP program. He's the chief engineer over there. And he's going to talk to us a little about what they're doing with ITEP. ITEP, for those of you who don't know, ITEP is currently in development.
Thank you. Thank you again, Dr. Lewis. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Nice doing it.
No.
Got it. Okay, thanks. So just to give you an overview, what is ITEP? Well, it's the Improved Turbine Engine Program, or ITE. And it's a 3,000 shaft horsepower class turbo shaft engine. It's being developed currently. It began engineering and manufacturing development phase in 2019. And the goal here is to deliver 50% more power, 25% better fuel consumption for our current, AH-64 Echo and UH-60 Mike fleets. So while we're doing that engineering, manufacturing, development phase to field to those systems, we're also developing the engines and producing engines to power the future attack reconnaissance aircraft competitive prototypes. So we're literally building the engines as we are building these prototype aircrafts right now. So really all this to ground you into the fact that ITEP is under a very challenging schedule, and we've entered a challenging schedule with the expectations of the digital age, but we're still using traditional document-based systems engineering approaches. And I'm today I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the challenges that we are experiencing in requirements management and technical data packages that we're seeing. So next slide. So on our requirements management, as I think Dave alluded to and others, is that we're doing the traditional document-based approach where we're getting contract deliverables. We're getting specification documents, hardware specifications, software specifications, ICDs, interface control documents. We're getting those in as per a contractual delivery schedule and so forth, and we do those document reviews. Changes to individual requirements, we are managing CM of those through a contract deliverable of specification change notices. So we get a separate document that's submitted, and we have a review cycle, and then we do our CCB and whatnot for that to disposition that and then we also receive a separate doors database delivery on occasion to kind of import it into our doors database and be able to do traceability studies and verify traceability and so forth. So some of the challenges that we've had with this is that one, doors version incompatibility with our OEM. Our OEM moved on to doors next generation, and we were stuck on doors classic, and they were assured that it would work and that it would export. But once it was implemented, they found out it did not export cleanly. And so there was a lot of manual cleanup to get from doors next gen export to doors classic. So a lot of overhead in that was undesirable, obviously, from both sides. So that was one challenge that we had. The other challenge is just managing hanging paper, with this approach. You got your baseline spec, and then you start doing specification change notices, and then, when do you roll the next version of the document? And you wind up with a lot of hanging paper. Also, if you're just in that you have to manage, and if you're communicating with documents, you're not sure if you've got the latest, you don't have insight into, what is being, you may not have all the insight into what the current requirement is within your development program. And then finally, just the timeline for the contract delivery of a standalone document. Also, go through our review cycle with all our stakeholders, then do a government CCB, make a disposition of the document to go back through the contracting folks back to the OEM. That's a long timeline. It's on the order of months. And our development program, our OEMs, they need to work on a matter of days and weeks. That's their cycle time. So one of the opportunities we've been trying to pursue is that, hey, why don't we get government access to the contractors' doors database and start, that way we have real-time visibility into what the allocated baseline document requirements look like. And furthermore, go in and be embedded into their change management processes, and be able to move within their decision cycle. That would, I think that, some of the, and, our OEM was willing to make that happen. So, and so right now, that's something we've been looking into. We've been successful in getting that doors database access at one of our support contractor facilities, but we have not yet been able to do that from a government network. And so really the vision was that, we at the government, at our desktops, our stakeholders could go in and vote directly, pull it up any time, but we have not been able to I guess, break through the security barriers of today's cybersecurity practices. So that's what was a key challenge there. We haven't been able to implement this yet. Quite frankly, it's something that I've been able to do on prior programs 10, 15 years ago, but it was a different environment then, as far as cybersecurity goes. So next slide, please. The other challenge that we've experienced has been with technical data package deliveries. Our current approach, again, we were taking delivery of 3D models, 2D drawings, other associated documents in accordance with, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers standards and our procedural requirements. And, what we plan to do is, we take those TDP artifacts of the qualified engine and place it in our official authoritative PEO repository for service use. Currently, it's known as EDIS, but we're taking initiatives to move that to a windshield kind of base system. But nevertheless, the challenge that we've had is that we've discovered as we've taken delivery of drawings that, hey, some organizations, some companies are taking their commercial digital engineering strategies and they're kind of moving away from traditional interpretations of the ASME standards. And so we've tried to work with, how do we use this in our sustainment activities? We've worked with the DoD sustainment commands, and they're not prepared to accept and work with such drawings. They're very, the sustainment community, I mean, it's a very, and we've reached out, and there's many agencies that we've reached out here locally to AMCOM, also a Defense Logistics Agency. And what we find as we try to work through these is that it's very much a black and white. This is the way it should be, or even just working with concepts, it's just we haven't been able to make that connection yet within those agencies as to how can we work with these formats and so forth. So so the opportunity here at large is that we need to make sure that our DoD sustainment community is involved in whatever digital engineering strategy, implementation strategy. When you got to think long term, again, that life cycle perspective, we need to make sure all the stakeholders are plugged in and have and are moving in this direction that that DoD and industry. So next slide, please. So where's ITEP going with this? So the first thing is, I guess, to get a plan, right? We are on the hook to develop a systems engineer, to update our systems engineering plan here in, as we approach our next milestone. And now a requirement from DoD is that the SEP should have a digital engineering implementation plan embedded in it. So we'll be working to develop that digital engineering implementation plan to align with the PEO strategy and vision. Something else that we are looking into is we're using doors, and it's got all the requirements, and there's some loose modeling, I'd say, with tracing of requirements that really depends on, individual engineering knowledge and experience to interpret. You can think bad requirements that don't necessarily flow down. You're not modeling. So, maybe we'll start using the model-based systems engineering tool set that PEO Aviation is standing up for the enterprise, that to gain insight into some of our more complex technical requirements that where it's just not so clear, and on how trades or at lower level requirements really build into what our impacts are at the highest level of performance requirements. So that's another opportunity that we'll be looking at as we move forward in time. And again, recommendations to the community, as a whole, is that, hey, one, we need network infrastructure that enables that digital thread. Right now, I'm working with a couple of digital breadcrumbs, and we need to seamlessly cross those organizational boundaries within the Army aviation enterprise, both government and our industry partners. And then, finally, again, ensure the engagement of all the community, DoD sustainment. I've, in some of the previous presentations, heard about, there's many others, test and evaluation. And so that's really just the kind of recommendation from where ITEP sits and has experienced today. So with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
So,
yes, sir.
so that's pretty good information. So in terms of the working group, how was your vendor aspect in the model? To know all the different variations.
I don't quite understand.
No, for these parts, right? So maybe GE's may manufacture, but they have to get the piece made by someone else. For that model, depending on what's available. Was there any issues in terms of that interaction work?
No, not that we're tracking. Their models or drawings that they've worked, and this is a corporate strategy across the board, and they don't really, they have some issues, and they are constantly taking feedback from their customers to say, oh, let's improve our standards and our drawings and models. And they've even worked with us, and we've kind of worked to try to make sure that our needs are met as well. And so it's something we're continuing to work with them. Yes, sir.
So going through the process, you mentioned the engineering aspects of it, or other life cycle management tools. Developing the engine, I think it would be considered that stress analysis, those types of stuff. Are you managing the physical models, representations,
I don't know that we rise to the level of digital twin, but we will manage the digital 3D model as part of the technical data package, and that will be through, I guess, big CM, right? Because the design activity is our OEM, and but as far as what is an acceptable government approved model, those will certainly be managed through our configuration and change process, and then we will also have those available to the legit sustainment community for procurement, where data rights, intellectual property rights allow, but also we have a substantial maintenance activity down at Corpus Christi, and they certainly will be able to reference those models in drawings and PDP artifacts as well for that activity.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.